I want to quickly talk to you about how to get approved for an EIN-Only startup business credit card with high limits, even if you have bad or fair credit. Don't go anywhere. You're going to love today's conversation. I guarantee it. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of the Awesome Sweetie Kiwi Show. How are you today? I hope you're all doing fantastic. I'm doing marvelous, if you are to ask me. If you are doing as great as I am, go grab a cup of coffee or tea or vodka and let's roll. In today's discussion, I want to show you how to get approved for a high limit EIN only startup business credit card, even if you have bad or fair credit. The first thing you need to know is you got to know the requirements for an EIN only startup credit cards. There are 5 major requirements. But before I give you the requirements, please understand that in this show, the word startup will mean brand new company as well as very young company. In other words, a company that is less than 18 months old when it comes to operational history. The 5 requirements. Number 1, annual revenue. It goes from $10,000 to $15,000. That's the minimum. Now, if you are a brand new company with no sales, you've got to prepare something called projected sales data, projected financial statements, and you have to make sure that your revenue is at least $10,000. Number 2, the industry. Please stay away from those controversial industries such as adult or other industries. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying if you want to get a card, a business credit card with EIN only from the majority of credit card issuers, certain industries are not good. So you just want to go with the mainstream industry. The third requirement, the business model. Business model must be viable. You have to be able to prove that your business model is viable. If you have no sales yet, you got to make sure you can explain to the credit card issuer that you have a viable business model, and you do this in a business plan. I'll talk about that later on. Requirement number 4. The credit card issuer would want to see the experience of the top leadership. So the founders, even if the company is not making money yet, they want to make sure that the leadership team has the right experience. They have the breadth and depth of experience. The 5th element that's very important, and a lot of credit card issuers might want to see this, especially credit unions. You want to have a business plan. You have to have a comprehensive, compelling, and clear business plan that is replete with financial statements. So if you can actually meet all those 5 requirements, you should be good to go. Again, you don't have to produce revenue. You just have to be able to show projected data that shows that you have thought things through and that your company is viable. Step number 2, you want to shop around for EIN only startup business credit cards with high limits for bad or fair credit. We've already covered this topic extensively, so if you have time, you just want to go watch this video. We're going to show you on the screen. The video is called The Top 10 Business Credit Cards with EIN Only for Startups and Very Young Companies. A very comprehensive rundown of all the important credit cards that you need to know. But in this show, I'm just going to quickly give you the gist of it. So you have consumers, credit union, business, Visa Platinum. We have scored that card 10 over 10. Great card for EIN only startup business credit card. And here you have a credit line up to $100,000. Then we have the Navy Federal Credit Union Gold Beast Reward card, 10 over 10, our score, and the credit line up to $75,000. Then we have the Bank of America Business Advantage Cash Rewards MasterCard, 9.5 over 10. We have the America First Credit Union Business Visa, 9.5 over 10. We have the Brex Corporate Card for Startups, 9 over 10. We have the Capital One Spark Classic for business, 9 over 10. We do have the Stripe Corporate Card, 8.5 over 10. We also have the Sam's Club Business MasterCard, 8 over 10. We also have the Ramp corporate card, 7.5 over 10. All those cards are kind of cool, and you can see the typology of the card. So when we speak about EIN-Only, start a business credit card with high limit for bad or fair credit, we have three main institutions. We have the credit unions, we have the big banks, the big traditional banks, and we have the online or the alternative credit card issuers such as Brex and Stripe and Ramp. Okay, and one thing I need to say, and I will elaborate on this later on, you have to establish a relationship, especially with credit unions and banks. You need to establish a relationship. You need to preferably sign up or apply for those credit cards at a branch. Don't try to do things online because you'll be taken care of by an algorithm. But for Brex, Ramp, and Stripe, you can only apply online. The system is designed in such a way that you can only apply online. Step number 3, folks. So after exploring the catalog of EIN-Only startup business credit cards with high limits, bad credit, bad or fair credit, you want to pick the best card for you. Let me ask you a question. This is big decision time. Big decision time. Do you currently bank at a credit union, a traditional bank, a community bank, or none of the above? Where do you bank? Where is your money parked right now? I mean, you have a startup, no problem about that. But what is your personal money parked? Is it in a big bank? The reason why I'm asking this is that you want to start where you are already known. You want to start where you already have a relationship. To get the best EIN-Only start a business credit card for bad or fair credit with high limits, you need to start with the bank where you know. So let's go through the pros and cons here. So when you go to a credit union, you got to be a member, and they probably know you already. And the chances, so if you go to Navy Fed or the Consumers Credit, for example, those are great credit union for startups. They know you. They tend to be a little more stringent in terms of conditions, but they are relatively great to work with. Traditional banks are more conservative. They would want to see more evidence of the viability of your business. So they might be asking for resumes, complete resumes of all the founders, as well as the business plan. But again, with traditional banks or regional banks, you also want to have a relationship. By relationship, I mean you need to open a savings account, a checking account, and other accounts. You need to establish a multi-product relationship. The funny thing is, a lot of folks they keep saying, well, we're talking about a business credit card. Why are you wasting time talking about having checking accounts, CDs, and all this kind of a multi-product relationship? Well, guess what? It is important. I'm showing you how the credit game is played at the very best level. And this is how the big players in the industry, the big startups, this is how they play the game. And you have to think about, in terms of picking the best EIN-Only startup business credit card for you, you have to think about whether or not you want rewards or no rewards credit card. And what are your spend categories? Because your spend categories must match the kind of card that you need. And also, is expense analytics or expense reporting an important element for you? If that's the case, then you might want to go for those credit cards such as Brex or Stripe, because they are way better in that department than your credit unions issued credit cards. Step number 4, folks, you need to get your act together. So we're speaking about EIN-Only startup business credit cards with high limits, bad or fair credit. But what is the foundation of your company? The word EIN is important. Do you have an EIN? You sure do. What are you doing to buttress, to solidify that EIN? Because the EIN by itself is just a number. The importance of your EIN is based on the solidity of your financial statements and how well your company is run. So make sure you run your company the legit way by incorporating first. You need to incorporate. You want to stay away from sole proprietorship. There's nothing wrong with sole proprietorship, don't get me wrong. What I'm saying here is that if you want to get a high limit business credit card with bad or fair credit, EIN-Only, you better have either an LLC, an S Corp, a C Corp, or an LP. You got to have a company. And make sure that you also have articles of incorporation and articles of organization, depending on the legal structure of your business. Pay attention also to your tax situation. Very important. I mean here at the federal, state, and local level. Those three levels, this trifecta is paramount. Because the last thing you want is to get in trouble with the authorities, right? And so I'm speaking about income taxes, employer taxes, sales tax, right? Now, sales taxes are not an expense for you. It's just a transfer of cash. So you get the money from customers and you got to transfer them to the state authorities. But if you don't do this, you might get in trouble. So this is important. So you want to set up a process that allows you to run your business the legit way while complying with local rules and federal rules. Think about permits and licenses. Trying to get business bank accounts, business credit cards. Even if you can't get credit cards with EIN-Only from the get-go, you can get secured business credit cards, right? Because you better start somewhere. If things are complicated at the beginning for you, that's okay. Start somewhere. Or you can use a personal credit card and convert this into a business credit card. It is possible, for example, with Discover or Capital One. You also want to set up your accounting. In terms of accounting setup, you can either buy software such as Wave, Xero, QuickBooks, Expensify. You can hire someone in-house. You can outsource the whole accounting function, or you can do it yourself. It's all about your level of comfort. I'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another section of the Awesome Security Kiwi Show. We are still having a conversation about how to get approved for an EIN-Only startup business credit card with high limits and bad or fair credit. Step number 5, you want to check your credit score. Let me ask you a question. Big decision time. Why do you think you need to check your credit score, even though the card itself is just EIN-Only? Why do you think so? As a matter of fact, do you even know your credit score right now? Your personal credit score, that is. Because if you have a startup, you haven't gotten a chance to establish a business credit score yet. So the whole question here revolves around your personal credit score. Well, you need to check your personal credit score, because if there are errors, if there are inaccuracies, if there are inconsistency, you want to fix them ASAP. Okay, you're going to have to write dispute letters to the credit bureaus to sort of fix them, because sooner or later, if you have a problem on your personal credit score, this might affect your business, either at the credit level or at the financial level. And you don't want that, especially if you have been a victim of identity theft. This is why you need to check this regularly. And where do you check those? You can check your credit score through your financial, your credit card statements, right? If you have a Discover card, or if you have a Capital One, they offer that. If you have a Chase card also, you can also go online. There is a website called annualcreditreport.com, and you can check your credit report for free. You can also go to Credit Karma or Nav or NerdWallet. Those are financial websites that offer you your credit score for free in exchange for your data. So it's all about finding out whether you're comfortable giving them your data versus getting their credit report for free. And how do you do this? You can actually just sign up with those services. For annual credit report, you can sign up also, or you can go to the website, and you should be doing this more often. Experts are recommending that you check your credit score at least twice a year, or after or before applying for a loan or credit card. And your credit score matters because it has 5 important elements. You have your payment history that accounts for 35%, the amount you owe 30%, the length of credit history 15%, new credit 10%, and credit mix 10%. If you know all those elements properly, you can increase your credit score over time. Step number 6, folks. We are still talking about how to get approved for a high limit EIN-Only startup business credit card with bad or fair credit. Step number 6, you need to have a backup plan for funding. The reason is that you wanted a credit card in the first place because you had a funding issue to take care of, right? You need some moolah, you need some cash. So you're thinking about getting an EIN-Only business credit card. Well, guess what? What if you don't get approved? What if something happens and they reject your application? You better have a backup plan. And this is what I'm going to show you right now. So you have to think about business loans, for example. If you can't get an EIN-only business credit cards, go for EIN-only startup business loans. The cool thing here is that there's a whole constellation of business loans for startups with bad or fair credit than there is credit cards. In other words, there are more players when it comes to business loans than when it comes to business credit cards. For example, you can get business loans for startups with bad or fair credit from alternative lenders, online lenders. The thing is, those online lenders and online and alternative lenders, they don't issue credit cards because the processing is different. You have it's a sort of a monopoly or a oligopoly because you have Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and Discover sort of sharing the global pie. So it's a lot harder. So think about equipment financing, for example, accounts receivable financing, accounts receivable factoring, MCAs, the merchant cash advances, right? Merchant cash advances, you got to have sales, but those sales must be electronic. But the cool thing here is that if you are a startup and you start making sales already, even if you're not making money, you're not making profits, if you're making sales, an MCA provider can actually help you. Also, think about co-signing business loans. Let me ask you a question. Big decision time. Do you have a lot of people in your team right now? Do you have a team of co-founders, or are you alone? Can you find somebody to co-sign a business loan with you? If yes, I would say if you can't get an EIN-only business credit card for a startup with high limits, bad or fair credit, go for a business loan and have a co-signer. Also, think about establishing trade lines, okay? And last but not the least, please, you can use personal loans and personal credit cards to start your business, at least in the beginning, and then later on you can switch to a business credit card with EIN-only. Step number 7. Now you have to apply. So when we talk about EIN-only startup business credit cards with high limits for bad or fair credit, you have 3 players, right? I spoke about that. You have a trifecta. You have credit unions, you have banks. The banks can be traditional, they can be national banks, they can be community banks, they can be regional banks. And then the third category, you have the online players, so the fintech companies. For the credit union and the bank, those players, you got to go to a branch. It's a lot better to go to a branch. You want to discuss with someone in the business loans and credit cards department. You want to print the application form. You want to study it before heading to the branch. It's important because then you can establish a relationship. You can talk to them. You can ask all the questions you need, and you can gauge whether or not your application will be approved based on the answers that the credit card or loan officer gives you. When it comes to the fintech, everything has to happen online. You can't go to a branch. They don't want you. They don't want to see your face anyway, right? So you can do things online. I'm going to show you first. I'm going to walk you through the process for a credit card application at a credit union or at a bank, and then I'm going to talk to you about how you do things with the fintech. So at a branch, you have to bring your EIN application confirmation from the IRS. You need to bring a business permits and licenses, a business plan, very compelling business plan. Make sure you have a financial statements for the last 3 years, annual and monthly, and this, not the last 3 years, the next 3 years. In this case, it will be the next 3 years because we're talking here about a startup, so it has to be projections. Your business tax returns, if applicable, right? If you are a very young company, in other words, less than 18 months old, chances are you have at least 1 year of business tax return. Attach that. Your personal tax returns for the last 3 years, and if you have some press release or anything, any social media mention, any media mention, whatever it is that you have appeared in the national or social media, you want to bring that because that will add credibility, that will create buzz, that will actually convince the lender or the credit card issuer that your business is viable and has been recognized as so by others. Let's now review the EIN credit card application from a fintech company, Brex. So you can see on the screen here that the first slide, they just want to get started. So they want to know more about you. You have to put your name, your company name, the email address, and the password. you have to click Start Application. And then they're asking you if your business is incorporated. As I said earlier, it's important to have an EIN. You cannot be a sole proprietorship and hope to get this card. So you have to say yes, and then they're asking you what's the name of your business. Put the name. You move next. They're asking you what kind of business, what kind of sector you're in, what kind of business category you're in. You have to put that. And next, they want to know the subcategory. So you have the main sector, and then they have the subsector. They want to know your business monthly sales. If you are a startup, don't worry about the amount. You can just estimate. Put some projection there. Make sure the number you have here matches what's in your business plan and projected financial statements. And then if your business has a website, you can put that also there in the next slide. Next, they want to have the details about the business. Put whatever information applies to the business. Next, they are asking more information, anything that you need to add, all the address, all the necessary information, put that in. Next, they want to know about the business ownership, right? So if you're the owner, you have to put that info here. They want to know the applicant's detail, put your personal information. If you are the owner, you want to put that on the next slide, the owner details, all the relevant information. If there are other pieces of information that are needed, you want to put that there. Your social security, your address, all that kind of stuff. The social security is purely for informational purposes, okay? For Brex doesn't really care about your personal credit. They care about the business credit, the EIN. And then next, they were asking more questions about the business ownership. You want to include that here. Next, you want to talk about, so they're showing you some terms and conditions. And you click, you just review that, read everything. And the next slide, once you're comfortable with everything, you just want to click Submit. This process for Brex is analogous to what you have to go through for Stripe and Ramp, for example. They are all based on your business's financials, your liquidity situation. All right, folks, this was it for today's conversation. I quickly was explaining to you how to get approved for a high limit EIN-only startup business credit card with poor or fair credit, 100% approval and no personal guarantee. Step number 1, you want to know the requirements for an EIN-only startup credit card. Number 2, you want to shop around for EIN-only startup business credit cards. Number 3, you basically want to pick the best EIN-only startup business credit card for you. Number 4, you want to get your act together. Number 5, you want to check your credit score. Number 6, you want to have a backup plan for funding. Number 7, you want to apply. Thank you so much for your attention, folks. I really appreciate it. I'll speak to you another time. But until then, remember, stay marvelous.